Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. It is Manawi here again, and today we are doing another custom track jams ranking video, and today we will be ranking the tracks from the underwater jam. So this jam, it's very big, so this is going to be a very long video. Yeah, I don't really want to say too much else because I just want to get right into the video, so this video isn't an hour long. But yeah, let's do this. Alright, for our last place track, we have Flooded Metropolis by Cardawful Corpse, originally placing 16th. So, the bottom two tracks, in my opinion, they aren't that great, no offense to the creators. But the reason this one is a bit lower is because it looks okay, some of the modeling is pretty nice, it's very confusing and it's very hard to drive. It's also pretty short and it's just overall not too interesting and confusing. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about this one. The KMP is very unfinished for this one as well. There are multiple routes, which is good, but other than that, this track really isn't that great. So that's going to do it for Flooded Metropolis by Cardawful Corpse. Alright, for our 16th placing track, we have Flooded Water Caves by Luigi Story, originally placing last, if I remember correctly. So this track, it's really not that great. There are some KCL bugs, and this is no offense to Luigi Story. I know that he worked hard on this track, but this track does need a lot of work. It doesn't look very nice. It also lacks animations. This track really just needs a lot of work, and there is actually an accidental ultra shortcut that can be found simply by falling off in a specific area and driving past the lap counter. And it's like, you can kind of see it here. I think this is where I get the ultra. Yeah, there. So yeah, not really much else to say. That's going to do it for Flooded Water Caves by Luigi Story. Alright, for our 15th placing track, we have Calm Before the Storm by Yoshi, originally placing 14th, if I remember correctly. So, this track, I actually like it quite a bit. I think it's fun, it's interesting. Well, actually not that interesting, but I think that it has some good ideas. However, I placed it lower because the track is just a loop. I actually like it better than some of the higher placing tracks on this list, but due to the fact that it's a loop and it lacks animations as well, there's not really much I can say about it other than that. Yeah, not really much else to say. So that is going to do it for Calm Before the Storm by Yoshi. Alright, for our 14th placing track, we have SUNKEN by KevinVG207. Probably butchered that name. This track originally placed 15th. So, I'm gonna be honest, and since I know this for a fact this track was a joke, I hate this track with every cell of my body. It is just completely horrendous. Some of the turns are very tight. Yeah, it's overall not that fun to play, although it is a joke track, so it is a bit passable, I'd say. It doesn't really look that nice. It's obviously in the shape of some sort of Japanese symbol, I think. I'm not really, or letter, I guess. I'm not really sure what it means, but that's obviously what it's in the shape of. It might mean underwater. I'm guessing it's something related to that, but I don't know. Alright, that is going to do it for Sweet You by KevinVG207. Alright, for our 13th placing track, we have Sea Cave Speedway by Dare, originally placing 13th. So this track, it's not that bad. This is Dare's first track, so there are some things that are passable. It is way overscaled, and it doesn't look that great, but I do think it is better than the submissions prior. The track, it obviously requires a lot of work. It has a decent layout, I'll give it that. However, it just doesn't look that nice, and it doesn't play that great either, in my opinion. Yeah, not a bad track, just kind of an track in my opinion. It's not too memorable. Alright, that is going to do it for Sea Cave Speedway by Dare. Alright, for our 12th placing track, we have Ghastly Abyss by Warwick92XD. So, this track, it's interesting. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really like it. I don't think it plays that great. Some of the texturing is questionable, and some of the geometry is also questionable. It's not terrible, I'd say. It has some good ideas, and it has a unique theme. I just think that it really needs a lot of work, and it doesn't play well at all. There's some road like there that's pretty thin. It's overall, it's not the best track in my opinion. It does some things good, like I said, theming, but the visuals aren't great, and the gameplay isn't great. Yeah, there's not really much else to say about this one. So that is this sideways section. I do not like this sideways section. Well, that is going to do it for Ghastly Abyss by Warwick92XD. Alright, for our 11th placing track, we have Icy Cavern by Slime Server, originally placing 10th. So, maybe this is a little bit of track bias, because this track did place higher than my track in the original jam. And it looks very nice, and at first glance, this track is pretty great. However, it does have some issues, like I don't think all of the textures are seamless, which basically means that they don't look that great. The track, it's very unfinished. It's hard to tell in time trials, but the enemy and item routes don't work. The item boxes don't work. There's basically just checkpoints and respawn points, if I remember correctly. So yeah, it lacks a mini-map as well. It's a great track, and I think it could be great. It just needs a lot of work. So that is going to do it for Icy Cavern by Slime Server. Alright, and for our 10th placing track, we have Bloopers Aquarium by me. So this track originally placed 11th below Icy Cavern. So this track, it's admittedly not great. I think the theming is pretty good, maybe better than Icy Cavern. The visuals, though, aren't that great. And I mean, it's a rectangle. It's an interesting rectangle. I think it's probably one of the most interesting rectangle tracks we have, except maybe Azara Temple, or Azira Temple, however you pronounce that one. But I do think that this track, it has some unique ideas, and it is kind of fun in my opinion. However, obviously it lacks visually. It's very jank. It's just overall needs a lot of work. And yeah, so that is going to do it for Bloopers Aquarium by myself. Alright, and for our 9th placing track, we have Aqua City by YOSHTAKU. This track originally placed, I believe, 9th. This track, it's interesting. It has an interesting theming, but I don't think the execution is there, unfortunately. The track, it looks decent, but I don't think it's UV mapped. And the track overall, it looks decent, but not that great. The theming is good, but I don't think it is executed that well. The track is relatively fun, I'll give it that, but it's not that interesting to play, you know. It has some bugs too. Yeah, there's not really much else to say about this one, so that is going to do it for Aqua City by YOSHTAKU. Alright, for our 8th placing track, we have Deep Sea Drive by ALPHAMARIOX, originally placing 7th. So, I do like this track. I think it's probably the most underwatery track this jam. However, it isn't UV mapped at all. The layout is basically just a circle, and, you know, it is quite a bit dark. I think this track could be great with a lot of work, but in this current state, I don't think it's that impressive. Yeah, that is going to do it for Deep Sea Drive by ALPHAMARIOX. Alright, for our 7th placing track, we have Wonders of the Sunken Sanctuary, I think. Created by Toxic Prime. This track originally placed 8th. So, this track, I like it. It looks nice. The layout, it isn't great. I think this layout is kind of, like, it's not bad. It's not the worst layout I've ever seen. But it's really not that interesting. Though, I do think the track looks pretty nice. I am personally not a huge fan, but I do think it is better than previous entries in this jam. So yeah, that's why it's placing higher. So that is going to do it for Wonders of the Sunken Sanctuary by Toxic Prime. Alright, for our 6th placing track, we have Abandoned Aquarium, created by JDS. This track originally placed 6th. So this track, it is pretty interesting. I do like the theming. It takes that aquarium theme seen in Bloopers Aquarium, but has it more like a full-fledged aquarium versus just a fish tank. So this track, it is very dark, and it doesn't look that great in my opinion. I think it looks okay. I don't think it's that interesting though, and I don't think it looks that great. I think this track could be great with a lot of work, but I think that in its current state, it's not overly impressive. Alright, so that is going to do it for Abandoned Aquarium by JDS. Alright, for our 5th placing track, we have Wet Wet Ruins, created by Jaden Mario Kart Wii. This track originally placed 4th. So this track, it looks very nice, and I applaud Jaden for his work on this track. It looks very great. This one started out as a joke track, and became more serious as development went on, according to Jaden. This track looks very nice. It's obviously heavily inspired by Dry Dry Ruins, and it, like I said, it looks great. My only gripes are that it doesn't play that great, and the layout is, like with many of Jaden's tracks, it's another square. It's nothing special. I do think this track looks very nice though, and for that I applaud it. So that is going to do it for Wet Wet Ruins by Jaden Mario Kart Wii. Alright, for our 4th placing track, we have Jungle Beach by BUGSX. This track originally tied for 2nd with Flooded Mario Circuit. So this track, it looks very nice, and it is very impressive that this track was made in SketchUp. This track is just overall very nice. It drives pretty well. It looks great. It's overall just a very solid track. The only reason this one is so low is because the other three are simply better in my opinion. And that's literally the only reason. Yeah, there's not really much else to say about this one. Just a very solid track. And a great job by Bugsy. Alright, that is going to do it for Jungle Beach by Bugsy. Alright, for our third placing track, we have Drip Drop Cavern created by Zachi. This track originally placed first. So, why is this track so low, you might ask? What is the reason? So, for one, I really like the visuals. This is easily the best track visually, this jam. I'm just personally not a fan of how it plays. And I think some of the visuals are very samey. In my opinion, the theming also isn't that interesting. And this track really doesn't hold my interest for too long. That's one of my main gripes with it. It's a great track, but it's just not that interesting, and it's not that memorable in my opinion. I think it was very obvious that this track would win the jam, but in my opinion, it isn't the best track this jam, and that's why it's not first again. Alright, that is going to do it for Drip Drop Cavern by Zachi. Alright, for our second placing track, we have Filthy Pond created by CLIPEUS, originally placing 5th. So, maybe this is just, I think this is more personal preference than anything else. But I really like this track. This track might be my favorite from this jam, but I do think that there is one that is better. And that is obvious right now if you know the jam tracks. But this track, this track is so underrated, and it makes me so sad because I really love this track. This track is highly underrated. It's criminally underrated, and it really makes me sad. It looks nice. It has interesting theming. It plays great in my opinion. I don't really have a gripe with this track, to be honest. Yeah, so that's going to do it for Filthy Pond by CLIPEUS. Alright, and for our winning track, we have Flooded Mario Circuit, created by TZ. This track originally tied for second with Jungle Beach. So, this track, in my opinion, although I do definitely prefer Filthy Pond, I think this track is in some ways objectively better. I mean, it looks pretty nice visually, the theming is really interesting. It reminds me a lot of Unfinished Mario Circuit, and I think that's kind of the vibe this track was going for. This track is great in my opinion, and though in my personal opinion it isn't the best from this jam, Filthy Pond is, I do really like this track, and I do think it should. I don't think it's entirely fair to base this entirely off of personal preference. Yeah, there's not really much else to say about this one. Just a very solid track, and I do really like it. Yeah, so that's going to do it for Flooded Mario Circuit by TZ. Alright, I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. Once again, as I always say, if your track placed lower than you thought it should have, it's nothing, I don't have anything against you, or your track was still probably good. I just thought other ones were better. Yeah, there's not really much else to say, so, yeah, that's going to do it for this video, and stay tuned for the next one. Alright, bye.